So this is the final part of the exhaust system video set. So basically this is the back box. There are obviously quite a few back boxes available. I find the prices ridiculous, like £600 for a back box. Wow. Okay, if you're prepared to do that, then absolutely fine. I'm going to go a different way. I made the back box my NC, and that turned out really well. I had two boxes made to the specs I wanted. Unfortunately, I contacted the same people to get box made to the size I wanted, and they don't do it anymore. So I had to buy a custom box, but off the shelf sizing. So it would have been maybe slightly different. So you can recognise the layout. I've taken it from one of the other exhausts you can buy off the shelf. But what I wanted was a straight through exhaust, so you don't lose any power. So basically no baffles in it, but then the longest box I could fit, and also fairly wide. I've been told by exhaust specialists in the past, it's actually, it's not the length of the box that helps, but it's the width that really helps. So I've got all my parts together, so all I need now is my welding friend to sort it out. So I've gone for a middle entry here to a back exit to give me space enough to, this will be cut down to whatever length I need, but space enough to fit this whole section in. I thought if it was in the middle, I don't know if I could get the turn done, but we shall see. But it's not going to affect anything. So all you've got is perforated tube all the way along here with then exhaust wrapping. Then the inlet is going to come in here. So this, I bought a flange that will match up to my mid pipe. It's then probably going to be a really tight turn along this pipe, well cut down, welded into this and in. I've got a flex joint that I think I'm going to add to the mid pipe at the back. I don't know if anyone else, if you've ever experienced engine mounts that are too hard and it gives this kind of resonance, this kind of noise through the car. It feels like that at the moment because I've got no flex joint, so I'd like to put a little flex joint in the mid pipe. So that's the idea there. This bit of metal is to support this long pipe when it's welded in, so attached from that pipe to here. I've then got hangers. This is 10mm stainless rod that will bend to the hangers, and then these are nicely made hanger ends, so basically they slide on here and then they can get tack welded, and those are your nice bits to go with the rubbers. So everything, as far as I know, is here to do it. Hopefully I'm doing it next weekend at my friend's. A lot of the time I would normally prep this up and maybe tack it into place and then just take it for final welding, but I think it's going to be easier to whack the car up on the lift and just do it all in situ. So this is where I'm up to with the exhaust. So off to welding in a couple of days, so just trying to prep a couple of things. So I've just done a couple of little jobs. So this bend, so the box didn't come with any inserts welded in. So I've cut this has got a joint here. I've cut this so there's a little lip sticking into the exhaust. So this, I've ground this back a little bit because the welding was messy. And then that can slide in up to there, get welded up. I've then cut down, this was a short 90 this way with an extended leg. So I've reduced the leg so that it turns nicely at the back of the box. Is going to leave sort of it's about a finger width all the way along here, so where that other pipe's going to go into the mid section. So I've done that, and then this end, this will be cut down. This will be where it has the end tips on. But again, it didn't have anything going in here, so again, ground that down, measured the length of pipe I needed, and then that's what's going to stick in. There is going to be a weld on the edge, so that is going to come out slightly, but not too bad. So that will be welded in. So I've got some basics done on it before we go up there and sort the rest of it. A little fix from following on from the manifold video is, you know that I had the O2 sensor. Let's see if we can get some light in there. The O2 sensor there running into the engine mount because it's at the wrong angle. So basically I contacted the people that made it. They've taken my critique on board, and they said they've amended how they weld it up, so that's been changed. They did send me for free a 45-degree O2 sensor fitting, so that will go in, and then that will take it away from that engine mount. So at some point I'll change the engine mount over to a fully sorted one. But let's get that in and make sure that all fits. So there we go, there's the 45-degree fitting put in. Like I said, they have changed the design, so you shouldn't have to have that, but they sent that through free. The customer service was really good, so that sorted out the problem, so all good. So I'm over at Hayden's. We've used the gearbox jack to get the box up, and we're just mocking that into position. One of the key criteria is to get this end piece in, because it's got to come straight out of there, it's got to be horizontal. So what we've actually thought, instead of dropping the whole box down lower, is if we tilt the box, we get the back end down to get that in line, but also have this back of the box so you don't see it that much from behind. I think that's a really good idea. What we're going to do first is we're going to get the hangers done so the box is in position and it's not going to move, and then we can start looking to connect all the pipes up. But it does look like we've got a nice bit of room here to turn in a nice 90. So yeah, I will check back in. So I've just been working on the exhaust hangers. So we used some TIG wire to make up different formers of what angles we wanted and things like that. Then used propane, heated up the 10mm stainless, and then given it in the vise a damn good smashing. And we've come up with the 4 hangers to hang the exhaust. So that's the first thing we're going to do to get the exhaust box in position, and then that gives us a basis to be able to do every other bit, because that's then set. So I'm just going to cut this off. This is the last hanger, and we're just going to tack those onto the exhaust and start putting it all together. So we've taken quite a long time this morning to bend in these hangers on either side. So these ones are really long because we're trying to push the box that way, so we obviously have enough room where the tailpipes go, which is looking pretty good. So that's just tacked in. We spent a long time getting in the box, because it kept, when you're on the thing, it just keeps wanting to move. So trying to get it in the right place. So it's doing the measuring from the back, measuring the level to try and get it in. Obviously it is pushed quite far back in the shield, because we're going to run a whole pipe, a pipe this long down the back, so it fits in quite nicely there. So yeah, it's looking really good. You just have to take your time doing it, and you will get there. So I'm just looking at the tailpipe end. So we have been able to push the exhaust a bit further that way to give us some space here. So I've made a longer insert that's going to be welded into the box. So that's going to go in there. Don't want it to go too far in. And then bringing that out, I've marked a centre line here. Want to bring that out. I've got a bit of leeway where I can weld that in and then pull this out. So that's fine. So what I've got to try and do, put that in, measure how long a bit I want here, which is not going to be that long. I'm probably going to be cutting around about there to have this where we want it, so that's going to be good. So yeah, just measuring that up, everything's coming together. The other pipe we tacked on the car, and then Hayden's gone off and he's welding all those welds before we weld into the box, so we want all, because you can get to all the welds, so that's really nice. So bit by bit it's looking really good. While Hayden's busy welding over there, doing a fantastic job, then the one thing I wanted, I think I mentioned it before, was I wanted to put a flex joint in the exhaust, because it's completely solid all the way through, and it does give some kind of resonance, kind of noise, vibration, if you say, through into the cockpit. So I think this is the straightest part here. Need 12 centimeters, so between those two there. But I think that's the only place with lots of room that we can fit a flex joint. So this is where the flex joint's going to come in. I've masked off, so these are my cut lines. I've got a straight line through, and just going to cut these out. So Hayden's we've basically done everything. It looks really good. Just putting a couple of little supports in. He's done this little one to support the leverage of that long pipe, and then we're just putting one here between the long hangers. So I think that'll just sturdy it up. So yeah, great job. So one of the last things to do on the back box is to get the trim on. That's looking really good. So the exhaust is finished hopefully. So we've got the AliExpress manifold up there. We've got the unknown mid box, which we've put a catalytic converter in. We've now put a flex joint in, work our way back, and we get to pièce de résistance, which is the rear box, which turned out really well. Look at that. All in polished stainless. 2.5-inch pipes in the rear box, straight through with a big box to hopefully quieten it down, because I'm not into really loud cars. Really nice hangers. Yeah, it looks really smart. I don't like massive exhaust, so nothing too silly. I think they're 3.5-inch pipes with a beveled edge, which I think looks really nice. So this was absolutely my fault. This is a 60mm tube outside diameter and around about 57 internal diameter. I bought a 57mm internal diameter flex, but all that does is butt up to it. I've not fitted a flex before, and I didn't realise that the tube is actually meant to fit into it. The place I was buying this from didn't have it, jumped from 57mm to 63mm, so I had assumed that there wasn't a 60 and I was buying the right one. But looking at other makes, you can get a 60 internal diameter, so that would mean that this would actually sleeve over. So basically your pipe should be going, instead of butting, it should be going inside and then being welded. What I'm getting is I'm getting blowing out of this flex joint, and I think what's happening is these wire metal gets trapped between this outer and an inner, and because we've butted up against it, I actually believe that air is going into the gap and is blowing through into this bit. So completely my fault. It's not the flex joint's fault, it's me. So didn't know, so well, you learn from these things. So I've ordered another flex joint, but just means I need a different section here. Luckily it's right next to the slip joint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, when it should be arriving today, is I'm going to cut a piece of straight, let's say for example that long. It's going to slip into here. I'm going to weld that end, well I'm not going to weld it, but Hayden is going to weld that end to this main pipe, another weld for this to this pipe, and then an extension welded into this section as well. And then we should all be good to go. Other than that, exhaust is great, but it was just doing this whistling noise on the way home, and I was trying to work out what it was. And when I got under the car, because it's so cold, I could see steam just slightly coming out of this. And when you turn the car on with that startup sequence where it's got higher revs, I could hear it whistle out of here. So that's great to be able to determine what it is. So going to get that sorted. All tacked up now. So with this one, the pipe actually goes into the flex joint on both ends. So I've just done a tack joint here, tack, tack, and then Hayden can do 3 welds and we're sorted. This is the slip joint that goes in, so nothing needed there. So yeah, all good. I can just take that out there without the car, and simplifies things. Flex joint is all welded up, so that should be the last thing. I'm going to whack this in the car and then hopefully it's all done.